I want to be that guy who has a box of passports.
Oh, so many identities.
No, just like killing tourists and taking their passports.
The modern rogue crafts a fake identity.
In the movies, it always seems so exotic, where someone has all of these fake identities that they can use at a moment's
Yeah,
notice.
sure, you buy them at the ID store. You're like, I would like an Asian male about 57 years old, right?
Different store. I don't know where you've been shopping.
Okay, good point, good point.
But they make it seem like this is something exotic that you have to have this hardened, mysterious life to achieve, and you really don't. It's a huge crime to do this.
Oh, bigger now than ever before.
But ghosting seems really easy.
So ghosting is assuming a dead person's identity. And there's a bunch of different reasons that you would want to do it.
Yes, which is different from just creating an identity from scratch.
Because if you create an identity, you can't go collect somebody else's social security checks.
Right, you are just taking the pre-established information that they already have attached to their person.
So why would you want to ghost?
You could steal someone's credit, you could just drop off the grid, or just start over.
And this is different from identity theft, because it's not like you want to cash in on their good credit and get a payday. Oftentimes you want to maintain their credit and keep this as a persistent personality so you can leave some kind of old life behind.
Right, and it's not necessarily always done for nefarious purposes. You could do it if you just need to escape. It's your own witness protection program.
As a matter of fact, during the Vietnam War, a bunch of conscientious objectors went up to Canada and they assumed identities of dead people and just assimilated into society.
Yes, and funnily enough, it's actually easier for women.
Because they changed their name at some point during their life, so their birth certificate would be different from their death certificate.
Exactly. Don Draper is actually a famous ghoster.
Seymour Skinner.
Seymour Skinner
Wait,
as
what
well.
was his real name? Do you remember?
Armin Tanzarian.
Wow!
Yes!
10 points to Gryffindor.
Oh.
My real name is Armin Tamzarian.
The whole thing that makes ghosting possible is that different government organizations don't share information very well.
So you might have a death certificate in one state where they died, but a birth certificate from another state, and you just go back to that first state, keep on living.
Exactly. There's no overall death record that people can easily cross-check.
So I'm not saying that I need to drop off the grid. And in fact, I'm not even saying I did anything wrong. Let's just say I needed to start over. Where do you begin?
It's really easy. You need one form of identification.
That's it?
That's it. Everything else comes from that. And the easiest thing to get is a copy of your birth certificate or of the other person's birth certificate.
So I guess you start by trolling through the obituaries. You find somebody roughly your age, somebody that maybe you could even pass for if you saw the pictures side by side, somebody with a less prominent occupation, like maybe a waiter or bartender or something.
Yeah, you don't want to pick a member of Congress or someone who had their own reality television show, for instance.
In fact, there's amazing stories of reformed criminals that wanted to leave their life of crime behind, but they were trapped in the same habits. So there's one guy who was into falconry, and he kept attending all the falconing events, and there's only like 100 falconers in the US, so they all recognized him.
Yeah, exactly. He was also a spy, but he got busted pretty quickly because falconers got a falcon. So the easiest thing to do is to go through the obituaries in a big city.
Because small town people all know each other.
Right. You don't want to call someone and have them say, oh, he's my uncle. I know you're not him.
So you begin with the birth certificate, and I know that in the pre-computerization days, London would have public records of birth and death certificates. So you're able to just literally walk around and you just grab copies of that.
Yes, yes. Now you can have a copy sent to you, and using that, you can get a driver's license, and you can get a checking account, you can get a new social security card, and you can take all of the trappings of this person's life, and it just snowballs from there. You just need that one.
One of the most disturbing things I read was that you want to look for an entire family that got killed out of state, because that means there are fewer people to recognize you and you get more targets to choose from. In fact, Eden Press back in the 1970s did an entire guide called The Paper Trip that was all about how to assume some dead person's identity.
Yes, and things have changed, of course, since the 1970s. You can do all of these searches and get a little bit more background on your target using the internet, of course.
On the other hand, as everything gets computerized, it's easier than ever for somebody to take a fingerprint and pull up your previous criminal record, because I know you have one, and all of a sudden the sham is off.
Yeah, exactly. So information, as we mentioned earlier, is starting to get shared more, but it's still not quite there.
So when you make that phone call to get the birth certificate, there's a little bit of social engineering in there. You got to have an excuse for why you haven't been around or what happened to your documents. Oftentimes you could say I was on missionary work or you were doing service overseas or something like that.
You want to take into consideration the moment of death versus the time you're calling. So if you've been gone 3 years, you need to come up with a lie for why you've been gone 3 years and don't have 3 years of work history.
So what about social security numbers?
Well, now you have to get a social security number for your child before you can claim them on your taxes. Used to be you didn't get a social security number until your first job.
So if you found a kid who had died maybe 7 years ago, you're 22 years old, kid died at 15, you go apply as the kid for your first job, and then they issue you social security number.
Exactly. Now, it is getting much more difficult to do this with the improvement of search engines and imaging technology that can cross-reference fingerprints in a matter of minutes.
You're saying the dream's dead? I have to be Brian Brushwood forever?
You might still be able to pull it off, but what's your new identity? Tell us.
Ryan Rushwood?
Oh, him.
Totally different guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
there might be a Ryan Rushwood out there.
Is he a podcaster?
He does broadcasting.
Broadcast.
He's a fisherman.
Is he fly fishing?
Yes.
Is that what he does?
All right, fine.
Ryan Rushwood, fly fisherman.